Today is Father's Day. They set it aside to honor the dads of the land. The idea for creating a day for children to honor their fathers began in Spokane, Washington. A woman by the name of Sonora Smart Dodd thought of the idea for Father's Day while actually listening to a Mother's Day sermon in 1909, and having been raised by her father, Henry Jackson Smart, after her mother died. Sonora wanted her dad to know the very special man he was and how very special he was to her. It was her father that had made all of the parental sacrifices and was, in the eyes of his daughter, a courageous, selfless, and loving man. Sonora's father was born in June, so she chose to hold the first Father's Day celebration in Spokane, Washington, on the 19th of June, 1910. And in 1924, President Calvin Coolidge proclaimed the third Sunday in June as Father's Day, and President Nixon in 1972 established a permanent national observance of Father's Day to be held on the third Sunday of June. So Father's Day was born as a token of love and gratitude for a father who was cherished by his beloved daughter. Fatherhood is a wonderful responsibility shouldered by very special men. My own father was a wonderful man. And like many children, it was only after I became a father myself that I realized all of the sacrifices that he had made so that my brother and I could enjoy the rich childhoods with which we were blessed. Unfortunately, there seems to be a distinct lack of godly fathers in today's society, and I think that's a very sad comment on the world in which we live. Godly fathers and godly mothers are certainly among God's richest blessings and gifts. Today's gospel lesson has nothing whatsoever to do, however, with Father's Day. It's all about excuses. There's a story about a husband and his wife. Woke up one Sunday morning, wife dressed for church. It was about time for the service when she noticed her husband hadn't moved a finger towards getting ready. Perplexed, she asked, "Why aren't you getting dressed for church?" He said, "Because I don't want to go." She asked, "Do you have any reasons?" He said, "Yes, I have three good reasons. First, the congregation is cold. Second, no one likes me. And third, I just don't want to go." Well, the wife replied, "Honey, I have three reasons why you should go. First, the congregation is warm. Second, there are a few people there who like you. And third, you're the pastor, so get dressed." Jesus used today's parable to teach his followers some very important lessons. First of all, he wanted them to understand that we must offer true hospitality and service even to those who cannot repay. A disciple, a true disciple of Jesus Christ, must have a genuine concern for those less fortunate, namely the poor and those who are less fortunate because of their infirmities. And in the verses prior to this parable that we read today, he implored his followers that when you give a dinner, don't just invite your relatives, your friends, your good neighbors. Those kinds of people are going to be more than happy to repay your kindness with an invitation of their own. But rather, if you want to do something very special, then ask those kinds of people who don't really expect anything in return, who will probably not be able to return your favor, who are poor, lowly, and unfortunate. And for that, he said, you will have a heavenly reward. And then Jesus tells this parable of the Great Supper, which is all about excuses. In the ancient world, bear in mind that invitations to a meaningful event were sent out months in advance. And then on the day of the meal, servants were sent around as reminders to announce the start of the meal. And so what happened here? Well, the first invitee opts out with the excuse, I bought a piece of land and I must go and see it. Now, who in their right mind would buy a piece of land unseen? I spent a great deal of my life in the secular world in an industry that was largely controlled by Jewish men. I can tell you for a fact that no good Jewish businessman is going to buy anything sight unseen. Jewish businessmen are very astute individuals. And they're not going to buy a piece of land unseen. As a matter of fact, they're going to go look at it several times and haggle greatly, I can assure you, over the price. Now, the second invitee was a little more specific and creative. His excuse was that he purchased 5 yoke of oxen and needed to test them. Now, once again, isn't that highly improbable? Livestock like horses, cattle, oxen, I never purchased without knowing they would sound. There was a time in my life when my children were smaller that we owned some horses. And buying a horse is a pretty serious business. You're not going to spend $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 without, hopefully taking the horse home and trying him out, and riding him around, make sure he doesn't buck and throw you off, doesn't get excited around small children, loud noise, and so forth. So that excuse didn't have much water. Then the third guest gets the prize for the weakest excuse of all. I married a wife and therefore cannot come to your supper. I don't know of too many wives who wouldn't jump at the chance to attend a fancy dinner in lieu of cooking a big meal for her husband. But this poor fellow is not even willing to take responsibility for his excuse. He blames it on his new bride. In reality, there's nothing unusual or unique about any of these excuses when it comes to saying no to God. Business first, I bought a field. Personal affairs come before God. I need to try out my new oxen. Affairs of the heart are more important than God. I have a new wife. Someone said once that excuses are like belly buttons. Everybody has them. What they're really saying is there's something more important that I really want to do. And now, if that is not the very essence of sin, my friends, I don't know what is. When we put self before God, we are sinning in a mighty way. God constantly invites us to his banquet table. Now, if we take a close look at those who were invited by God, and those who consistently refuse, I think you will see that they fall into several categories. First of all, there are those who have been invited over and over again and still haven't accepted. These folks are simply lost. We all know people like this. We might invite them to church and they might come once. And maybe we'll invite them again and maybe they'll come once more, finding an excuse not to come. Some years ago, I had an inquiry from a lady who was interested in our church. She called me several times for information about it. And I followed up with invitations to come. Usually it was, well, we're going out of town this weekend. Or something came up. Finally, this excuse. My husband really likes to go out for breakfast on Sunday morning rather than go to church. Madam, I've got news for you. Your husband is preoccupied with the wrong meal. Then there are those folks who just come to nibble. We all know those sort of half-hearted attempt at church membership. Not really feasting at the banquet. Weak, immature churchmen, in reality lost and defeated because of a lack of commitment. And then there are those, probably the most prolific of all, who just leave before the banquet is finished. They simply walk out on the host. These are the backsliders who spend their lifetime somewhere between God and the devil. Those who never seem to grasp the real gospel message. These are folks who don't think that faithfulness is important. And so they keep letting worldly pleasures get the way of a right and meaningful relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. Now, thankfully, there are those faithful souls who come to the banquet and feast repeatedly. You must know some of those. There are a bunch of you here today. Committed, Spirit-filled, the just and the righteous, whose presence at the altar will someday lead them to a place of honor at God's heavenly banquet. When God is the giver of the banquet, you just can't say no. When Jesus Christ invites you every week to the table He's prepared, there can't be any excuses. I read this not long ago. Suppose you receive a message like this. Dearest friend, you are cordially invited to come and enjoy the delicious banquet of my salvation. Serving will begin at my house and will continue for eternity. I'd love for you to come and get to know me personally and join my family. The feast is free to you because the cost has already been paid by my precious Son, Jesus. You're receiving this invitation simply because I love you. Please join me, and you may come just as you are. Sincerely, God Almighty. How are you going to respond to that invitation? Are you going to accept it? Or will you make an excuse? Now, for those of you who might choose not to accept that invitation, I have something for you. Here's an excuse form you can use. All you have to do is fill in the blanks. And when you get to those pearly gates, you can visit your excuse for whatever it's worth. And it goes like this. Dear Jesus Christ, I received your invitation inviting me to come to you for forgiveness of my sins and eternal salvation. I'm sorry I cannot come to you because. Just fill in the blank. And sign your name. Truth is that all of us make excuses. Usually to avoid responsibility, we make excuses to our family, our friends, and oftentimes to ourselves. We make excuses to God. God's willing to put up with our excuses up to a point. What we have to remember is this. If we don't want to serve God, we can always find the right excuse. God will never force himself upon you. But he will, as did the banquet giver in today's gospel. At some point, you'll just find someone else.